If I had one thing to do over, if I could really change my life somehow, I think I would try. I would have been nicer to my father. I think I worked full time with my dad since I was 4. He was my best friend in the world. He was my only friend, really. He and Roy. I didn't have girlfriends. I didn't know what they were because I worked and I went to school. And then when my father sold the store and we moved to Buffalo, I suddenly realized I'm a teenager. I had to study girls as though I was an anthropologist from Mars. Like I had to say, oh wow, they make a big deal about clothes and about shoes and they laugh a lot and they scream when they see each other in the hall. I've got to do all those things. Those things are really, really important. But first of all, I have to get my father out of my life. He can't be my friend anymore. That has to be over. And I didn't know how to do it. And I think the closer you are to someone, the closer you are, the more you have to push them away. And I didn't know how to do it. So I did it through absolute, complete cruelty. Like I was unrelentingly cruel to him from almost all of my teenage years. When he talked, he would come home and say, "How was your day?" The second he would drive in the driveway, I would put on this big plastic hair dryer, but they don't even exist anymore. Giant hair dryer, and when he would say, "How was your day?" I would turn it on, and it would just blow up, and I would not. I would be like the boy in the dome in Dallas. I would no longer hear him. I wore it all the time that when he was home. And whenever he said anything, because we had to go to a restaurant for all of our food because my mother didn't cook. Whenever we were in a restaurant, I would absolutely never talk to him. And I was convinced that he was always embarrassing me. And I would say, would you stop embarrassing me? Because I'm really friendly and he's really friendly. So he would talk to waitresses and say, well, where do you hail from? Things like that. And it was profoundly and deeply embarrassing to me. Even though I was unrelentingly cruel to him, he was never even angry at me. Only when I was a little impolite to my mother once or twice. So he sort of endured all that. And then, just to give you an example, one time we were at dinner and I had bought these new Baswegian loafers. And he said, you know what? I did things that were really stupid when I was a teenager. I don't know about you, but I'm going to take 2 dimes. This is when you put dimes in your loafers. This is really dating me. And he said, I'm going to put 2 dimes in here. This is when phone calls cost a dime, before cell phones were invented. And he said, I'm going to put these dimes in each one of your loafers, and you can call in 2 favors, and I will never, ever, ever ask you why you're calling, and I will give you help, and I will never criticize you or say that you did anything wrong, but you've only got 2, so use them wisely. So I said, would never call you if my life depended on it, because you're completely a dweeb and I don't want to be seen with you ever, 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 ever. So one time I was with 2 guys that were dead drunk, and with another girl that I had talked into going to this bar out on the lake. And they had almost killed us on the way out there. We were literally holding on to the door, and our feet were flying out of the back of a convertible. So it was very dangerous. And you know how teenagers never think anything's dangerous? I knew this was dangerous. So, and I was a risk taker. So I thought, I can't go home with those 2 guys. I absolutely can't. So I called my father, and it was a real divey bar that nobody would be in. It was like 40 miles from Buffalo. It was just the most stupid thing you could do at the age of 15 with fake proof. So I called my father and I said, it's 2 a.m. I said, hi, I'm calling in 1 foot tonight. So he came out, he picked me up. He didn't say one word to me about what are you doing here or anything. And he drove me home. The other girl refused to let her parents know. Then nothing happened to her that night. She went back about 2 weeks later and is now in a wheelchair forever. And I realized, wow, my father had a lot of insight to say, you're going to get in some jams and you can call me and I'm not going to yell and scream, but I'm going to be there to help you. And then when you know how there's probably tons of girls out there that know exactly what I mean, how you have to separate from your dad and you find him just horrific in everything he does. But I never had a chance with my dad because he became ill. And, so I never got out of my teenage years with him. I lost him. And I was unable to say, hey, we were really close. We were really the closest 2 people could be. And, he died before I had a chance to say, I'm sorry. That was just a stage. And it seems to me so sort of cruel when, someone is taken away from you right in a stage when you're being awful to them, and you never ever have the chance to make it up. And I think part of the reason that I wrote my second volume was so that I could, and I dedicated it to my dad, and I said, for things left unsaid. And it was a way for me to say, I wish that things had ended differently.